Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thinking in the realm of sales and or leadership. Today's show is IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. I know a lot of y'all listening, and I got these crazy titles for my shows, but this one really hits home with me today, especially dealing with entrepreneurs that I'm dealing with every day and salespeople I'm dealing with every day. So this show today should really hit home for all of you that have businesses and or sales teams that I help. In today's shows, we're going to talk about the importance of why pilots use instruments to fly safely versus trusting their instincts and gut knowledge. When you trust your instinct and gut knowledge when you're flying and then you hit in weather and stuff, you could almost bet you're going to end up crashing and killing yourself. So when I talk about IFR flying in the context of business, why do I always use this analogy when I'm helping different business owners and sales teams? And the reason I do it is because in flying, you learn, and I'm a pilot, you learn that you've got to trust your instruments. Because if you don't, and you trust your emotions or how you feel, you'll get vertigo. And when you get vertigo, obviously the results of that are catastrophic, i.e. you usually get killed. In business, I see people with vertigo all the time. Most of the times they don't even know it. So when I use this with business owners and sales teams, is I find the reason is they're always trusting their instincts or guts. So when I start asking them about facts, I usually get a lot of stuttering. My accountant handles it. I just know. Again, as a pilot, you know better than to do that. You don't ever assume. So let's talk about what IFR means or what the instrument's like in flying your business or being successful in business. First is defining your customer and what they look like. Oh, and by the way, we're going to talk on each of these in just a second. Second is where they're located and how do you reach them. Third is what kind of market share do you have and is it really relevant? Fourth, have you built out a business assumptive model and looked at the levers that create the opportunity to build your business? And fifth and last, is it all based on assumption, based on facts and data, not just your assumptions? So let's talk a little bit about each one. The first one, defining what your customer, who your customer is and what they look like. There's so many times I've asked this question. One of my particular companies, Ideal Image, years ago when we first sat down with the founders, I said, what does our customer look like? And they said it's a 70,000 household income. They drive from all over, Dean, and the average age is in 40. And I said, really? So we did a deep dive and had a demographer look and do a real deep dive on all the facts. And here's how far off we were. They drive from all over. Well, we found out the average drive time for all our customers was 10 minutes. That is not all over. That they are household income of $75,000. We actually found the average household income, $37,000. You think that's a big mistake or a big misassumption? And then the average age was 32, not 40. Those three things were creating this anemic company, which we subsequently grew for a big exit by knowing the facts. So we knew what our customer looked like and we defined them. Up until that time, they were flying in the clouds and they were assuming what they knew. And we changed that by going with the facts, and it made it much more easier. Second is where they're located and how do I reach them? Well, this is really interesting, especially today, is A, where they're located. That's where you start really deep diving and you find out where your concentration of customers. In that last analogy, it was a 10-minute radius, which that allowed us to open more locations because we knew we were servicing a small radius. Secondarily, how do you reach them? Well, a lot of people, especially today, just assume social media is the only way you reach customers anymore. Is it effective? Absolutely. But when you look at what your age segment is, it could be different than you think. I've had customers where their age segment is in their 50s and 60s and they're on Instagram. Now, that doesn't mean there's not some 60-year-olds on Instagram, but that isn't the core place they want to be. So, second is where they locate and how you reach them is very critical. We had in one company where we found out that our clients watched a lot of TV, and in fact, watched daytime TV. So we were able to reach clients using daytime TV, which is very cost effective, and we were able to increase our sales tremendously by knowing where they were hanging out and giving them the message. Third, what kind of market share do I have and is relevant? This drives me crazy. I'm always told by people it's competitive, you can't believe how tough it is out there, and da-da-da-da-da. When I look at market shares, I was with somebody recently, we were looking at their market share, and their combined market share of their sales and lost sales was 2% of the market. That's right, 2%. That meant 98% of all the transactions that were happening every day, their customer, they didn't even know they didn't know about it. They weren't losing on, they thought it was price. They said, oh, it's price and competitive. They weren't even on the deals. It was irrelevant. They were so self-talking about price and competition, and the reality is they combined losing deals and getting deals, didn't even have 2% market share. 98% or 98 out of 100 transactions happened right around them and had nothing to do with price and competition. The customer didn't even know they existed. Wow, what kind of misstep is that? Is that an eye-opening moment? For me it is. May not be for you if you think about it, but I would say if you have 98% of the market doesn't even know you exist, where you sell, so this isn't global, then I think you have a problem. And I think you're based on assumptions, not on facts. Fourth is, have you built out a business assumption model to take the look at levers in the business? This is so incredibly important. When I build out assumption models, and I've been building them out for 30, 40 years almost now. I'm embarrassed to say it's that long. But when you build them out, it's not a business plan. You put assumptions in, and it drives the revenue, expenses, and all that. Well, where it becomes very, very powerful is you look what small incremental moves can make. I had a guy one time tell me it was very competitive. And I go, well, you say it's competitive. Yeah, Dean. I go, what's your price? Well, let's just say it was $100. I said, so if you did $100 in one penny, you'd lose all the business. Well, no, I wouldn't lose it on a penny. Then why are you not pricing your product $100 in a penny? Now, I know if you're watching or listening, you're going, what are you talking about, Dean? A penny doesn't matter. Here's where it matters. Where do the amount of pennies go to where it changes your success? I had one company, we went in and the prices were always, the sales teams were talking about price. We raised the prices 25%. And we said, go use that on clients we don't have, 25% higher. And they go, well, we'll lose every deal. I go, okay, let's lose every deal, but let's make sure we're on the deal. Well, guess what? We had a rapid ascent of business because our sales team went out and got on the deals. And because our price was so much higher, they talked about the values of our company, not the price. And oh, by the way, I find many times is that with the business assumption model, your pricing is always wrong. And you price by what you think, not by how the facts would work and how those levers would work. The same thing with marketing. People would go, well, I can't spend $5,000 a month. And I go, well, what's your acquisition cost? Well, I don't know. Well, if your acquisition cost is 10% and you spend $5,000 or $10,000 a month, that's 10% acquisition. That $10,000 should generate another $100,000 in sales. what would 100 grand sales do? They had no clue. They said 100 grand in sales, it would be nutty. We'd be so profitable. Okay, you didn't know, you didn't build a model, but 10 grand gets you 100. I don't know where that's a bad deal. Again, when you start using assumptions and your gut flying, you're not flying IFR, you're going to have a crash, or you're never going to be as successful. And fifth and last, is it based on facts and data, not just assumptions? So everything you want to do research. Today, I can tell you can get all the research data you can imagine. You can find out where they live. You can find radiuses. You can find household incomes. You can find customer demographics. You can find total quantity sold. You can find every kind of data in the world off the internet. And once you have that and you base your assumptions on those kinds of facts, you will always be successful. Operative word there, always. Now you have all this data. I can assure 99% of you that you can see what I'm talking about when you see that you're missing the mark and crashing. Understanding and implementing these 5 points, I promise you, if you're listening today or watching, will ensure your success. Whether you're a salesperson or a CEO or owner of a company, or even a marketing person or a CFO of a company, build this out. This will make a difference. So, your assignment this week is to take these 5 points, apply them to their business. When you finish this assignment, I promise you, you will have an eye-opening moment. More importantly, you'll be armed with the data that allow you to grow your business without the impacts of outside noise and or challenges. So now, with these 5 points, define your customer, where they're located, how to reach them, what market share you have, is it relevant, build out the business model, base it on the facts and data, not just your assumptions. When you finish that, you will be fully equipped to fly accurately in the clouds and have a successful trip in your career and in business. It's 100% foolproof when you learn this process. So get out there and start flying IFR in your business. Also, thanks for tuning in every week, and a reminder to share this if it helps you. And my book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, is available on Amazon. I really encourage you to read it. It's a lot of the stuff we talk about here. And if you ever have a question, please email me, or a comment or thought, at help@deanakers.com. And I answer every one of them, and I will always help you anytime. So get out there. Start flying IFR in your business. It's 100% foolproof when you learn the process. See all of you next week. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.